So I guess I'll make this a intro to user input service. Sorry for the lack of videos. I went back to college and I've been coding. So yeah, I digress enough about myself. All right, so I'm going to start off with our reference, just get service, user input service. That's the wrong one. Getting basic inputs is with the input began event. It's possible to do cross-platform with this, but again, just an intro for now for those of you new to this. So our arguments for the input began event, we're going to have our input for the first argument, and if it's a game processed event. Now, a game processed event is whenever somebody is using their input for, opening the core GUI or, using chat. We can check if it's a game processed event so that we don't overlap our, inputs that we want with Roblox's chat inputs. I don't want somebody to press E while they're typing in chat and then, have their inventory open while they're typing. That's just terrible design. And we can get past this by just checking if it's processed. Then we'll just return nil. I see Roblox has done some different highlighting. Let's sort of make my metaphor from earlier a reality. Let's make our E key open up a UI. Maybe it would be like an inventory UI, but we'll just do a basic UI for now. So first what we want to check is which key they pressed. So if our input.keycode is equal to the enumerator. Now you can also put just like an E inside of strings. It's really up to you. I'm just going to use the E key code enum. Then I'll just do we'll print E whenever we press E, just to make sure it's working. And there's our client taking out E. Looks like they changed output too. I've been away for too long. So when we start to handle more than one input, a lot of people like to start doing this. They will just go and do the big else if block. I can't say I didn't do this when, like back when this first came out, because even then I was a little newer at scripting. There's a better way to do it. I'll show you how to do it. Above this, I'm just going to put a table full of, I'll just call it input functions. And what we're going to do is we're going to map the input key codes, to this table as the indexes. And then we'll just have our functions that, hold the code that we want to execute whenever we fire this input began event. So I am going to do the first function as the E enumerator, and I'll make another function for the Q key. And I'm going to change this block in here to if input functions, and then we'll check the index with the input.keycode. So if the index exists with the key code, then we're just going to call it like a function. And then, I'll put that print E up there and that print Q up there. And there's our print functions working. So yeah, that's how to avoid the horrendous else if blocks that you can create with user input service. I'll probably make a UI series eventually. This will just be a quick UI tutorial if you've never done it before. So I'll insert a screen GUI into starter GUI, and then I'm just going to insert a frame inside of that. I'm going to change the size to maybe like half the screen scale, and then I'll just put it in the middle of the screen. And yeah, we'll just keep it like that. Open up our user input service. Now this isn't the best practice. I'm going to make some references to the UI. And yeah, there's easier UI referencing than this. I'll go over it in my game design tutorial when I get to that. Reference to the local player. Then we'll reference their player GUI. Using wait for childs. Again, I don't condone the use of wait for childs like this, but just quickly we're going to use it. Our screen GUI is inside of player GUI. You can see why I have a different method for doing this. It's kind of annoying having to do the wait for child because sometimes the UI will load before you even get into the game, and then it errors and it's just a big catastrophe. And we're going to make a reference to the frame that's inside of that screen GUI. And I'll just put a little comment here. Not the best practice. And so when our input began, the E is pressed, we want our frame to be visible. So I'll change that. Alright, so I want to make it whenever we press E, it'll make the frame visible. However, whenever we let go of E, it'll make it invisible. So I'm actually going to make, I'm going to change this table around a little bit. I'm going to make two tables inside of this table for ended and began inputs, and then we'll make another event to connect to them. And then there's our E function inside of our input ended table 2. And then I'll just change visible to false. And then down here, I'm just going to do a little copy paste for this input began and change this to input ended. And we're going to do a little more changing around here. We're going to have to do that inside of the input began table. And then similar here, we'll just change that to input ended. And then we'll have to put that there as well. Put that there too. And there we go. We are pressing E and letting it down, and it is making the UI appear and disappear. So what's going on here is, when you begin an input, it'll look for these functions and then execute them, inside of the table that we have for input began. Then for input ended, it'll do the same thing. So, it'll kind of just route to this table instead of having all these huge else if blocks. Very nice. Our will to learn is faster than I can pump out videos. That's why I recommend developer.roblox.com. It's pretty good for, API references. Here's the user input service popped up here. And you can see all the API and the properties and the functions. I'll put a link to it in the description. It's a very good resource. Very good resource for beginners. Very good resource for seasoned veterans. I'll see you guys in the next video.